Now, I know this is last week's news, but I still wanted to talk about it here on this channel, give my thoughts and opinion on this whole situation. That situation is, of course, that Elgton Jenkins skipped Packers workouts over a contract dispute. We all know that the Packers plan to put Elgton Jenkins at center for the 2025 season after signing Aaron Banks to a pretty big contract in free agency, former 49ers guard. They still have Sean Ryan, Jordan Morgan, both of which can play right guard. They're pretty locked down at left tackle with Rasheed Walker, Anthony Belton, Jordan Morgan, and of course right tackle is locked down with Zach Tom, whereas at center, they let Josh Myers walk in free agency for not really much money at all to the New York Jets. And their plan was all along to push Elgton Jenkins to play center, which first off, I'm all about. I think this will make the Packers offensive line even better. I think a lot of us can agree that the weak point was at center with Josh Myers, and the next best option, in my opinion, is Elgton Jenkins. Now, some would say, why not just move Zach Tom to center? There's reports last offseason, that the Packers believe Zach Tom could be a Hall of Fame center. I think he's stuck at right tackle. I think that's where they're going to keep him. He's played at a very high level there. That's where I think he's going to get his contract extension at and paid as the highest paid right tackle in NFL history. But today we're talking about Elgton Jenkins and him holding out of Packers camp because now that he's moving to center, he wants a little bit more guarantees in his future for the Green Bay Packers. Elgton Jenkins doesn't necessarily have a problem with moving to center full-time, but sources say the two-time Pro Bowl left guard would like the Green Bay Packers to make it more financially stable for him to do so. Now, first, let's take a look at Elgton Jenkins' current contract. Now, of course, he is listed as a left guard on Over the Cap, so when we take a look at center contracts, he won't be included in that, but we can kind of picture where he would line up in terms of the top paid centers in the NFL currently. So if we go and look at Elgton Jenkins' contract, in 2024, he had a cap number of $14.4 million. That jumps up to $17.6 million in 2025. Now, the main problem here is 2026. And you might be going, why is this a problem, right? His cap number is going to be $24.8 million. That seems like a lot of money. It's 8.4% of the salary cap. Well, the problem isn't the cap number. It's more so the guarantees tied to Elgton Jenkins, where you see if the Packers were to move on from Elgton Jenkins after 2025, they'd save $20 million off the salary cap. And with a cap number at $24 million for a center, that's almost a guarantee of what the Packers would end up doing. They'd play Elgton Jenkins at center in 2025 at this cap number here, and then they'd move on in 2026. And whether that means Jacob Monk is then the full-time starter, maybe a draft pick, maybe someone like Zach Tom, Jordan Morgan, right? There's other options there, would be their center in 2026, where Elgton Jenkins will be turning 31 years old. So you could see why Elgton's looking at this going, hey, I kind of want more guarantee. Like if I'm stepping out of my positional wheelhouse of left guard and left tackle, where I've pretty much played my whole career here in Green Bay, he has played some center, I want some guarantees on my end too. So I fully understand Elgton going, hey, let's try to get a little bit more guarantees. And considering when Elgton Jenkins signed this 4-year contract for $68 million, there was actually incentives placed in this contract, his previous contract, based on left tackle play. So I think he signed this contract or the previous contract with the insight that, hey, I could end up playing some left tackle and that could earn me some more contract incentives. And that never happened. He stayed at left guard and he did so to better this football team. And now he's willing to do so again. He has no problem switching to center, but he wants those same guarantees. So I fully understand what Elton's saying here. I don't think it's a selfish move. I don't think it's, an annoying move, for lack of better words. I fully understand it. And when you take a look at left guards around the NFL, now the Packers just paid Aaron Banks to that 4-year, $77 million deal. So now he's above Elgton Jenkins in terms of guards. But the Packers actually have paid two of the top 4 left guards in the entire NFL. The only 2 above them are Quentin Nelson and Landon Dickerson. So if you look at Elgton Jenkins, that total value, $68 million, an average per year at $17 million. And then we switch over to center. That would actually put him as the second highest paid center. Actually, probably the third, because I guess Cam Jurgens just signed that deal, so that would put him above, even though it's the same valuation there. But it would put him third, below just only Creed Humphrey and Cam Jurgens, who are both 27 and younger. You see all these centers, the oldest one, or at least the one that's above 30 years old, is Ryan Kelly with the Minnesota Vikings. and it's only $9 million per year. Where you take a look at Elgton Jenkins, who's 30 years old now. Well, he's actually turning 30. He's 29 right now. He's turning 30 this December. So he'll be 30 late in the 2025 season. But still, when you look at this and you go, okay, Creed Humphrey, Cam Jurgens, even Drew Dahlman, who just signed with the Bears, all these valuations, they do make sense, right? Younger players in their prime at center, which I'd argue, Elgton Jenkins could be an all-pro center. So I think that's another argument to have. Well, does it really matter too much that he's turning 30 years old this year? If he's going to be an all-pro center and take this offensive line to the next level, which I fully believe he could. But right now, as it sits, he'd be the third highest paid center in terms of average per year. But what you have to look at is more so the total guaranteed for both of these top two paid centers. Creed Humphrey, $50 million guaranteed. Cam Jurgens, $43 million guaranteed. Even if you go and look at Aaron Banks, more guarantees than Elgton Jenkins originally got, $27 million. Elgton Jenkins was all the way down at $24 million guaranteed, which in turn doesn't have many guarantees in the latter half of his contract that he's entering right now, 2025 and 2026. So that's where his gripe is right now. It's not necessarily with the average per year. If the Packers gave him, again, a $17 million average per year, but reworked this contract, maybe added on a year, added some more guarantees, maybe more incentives, say, hey, if you make a Pro Bowl, if you make an All-Pro at this center position, you can earn more money. I think that's all Elgton wants. I don't think he wants to become, as much as he'd love it, the highest paid center. I don't think they need to pay him over $18 million average per year. I just think they need to add a year onto this contract, a year or two, and add incentives based on center play, because that's what they're asking him to do. Rather than the last contract, they added incentives based on tackle play, and he ended up never really playing tackle. Because clearly, centers get paid a lot less than guards. This is simply just left guard, and you can see three of which, including Aaron Banks, who the Packers just signed, make more than the highest paid center in the NFL. And even if you go and take a look at right guard, it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Four of which make more than the highest paid center in the NFL. Trey Smith, Chris Lindstrom, Robert Hunt, Sam Cosmi. So if Elgton Jenkins is going to be moving to a position that inherently just makes less than guards, he wants to cover his own back at the same time. And I fully believe this will get done. So does Packers coach Luke Butkus. He says he has no concern whatsoever about Elgton Jenkins missing the offseason program, even with him moving to center full time. Quote, I thought one of his better games last year was the one he played center. So I don't think this is going to turn into anything bad where they can't come to an agreement and Elgton Jenkins is requesting a trade and the Packers end up trading him. They don't really have a contingency plan, in my opinion. I'm sure they'd figure something out, but I don't really see a center number two that could start week one on the roster right now. I think Jacob Monk is our center number two, and I just don't really feel like the Packers would be comfortable starting him week one. There's not many free agents on the market. I think you would have to then transition into someone like Sean Ryan or maybe even Jordan Morgan playing center. That would kind of be your next course of action, but I don't foresee that happening. I fully see the Packers reworking Elgton Jenkins' contract, maybe adding a 1-year extension, tying him to the Packers till 2027 when he's 32 years old or turning 32 in the 2027 season, which still isn't bad if you're getting an all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber center. Not to mention everyone else on that offensive line. The Packers could clearly have one of, if not the best offensive lines in the NFL. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I think a lot of people might be making this more than it is. I think it's simply just, hey, I want a little bit more guarantees. And it makes a lot of sense with him, kind of changing his wheelhouse there and moving to center for the Green Bay Packers. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Really appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. OTAs right around the corner. So if you want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers, of course, when OTAs are here, there'll be updates, highlights, all of that, everything you need to know. Go down and hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.